live.
Okay. We're just gonna talk and
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. How about that? How about that weather today, huh? It's good. It's a sunny day.
What
Sunny
is
day
the
here.
weather like that for you? What is the weather there for you?
What, in November?
Yeah.
I think you had a pretty good guess. Isn't very good, Jeremy.
It's snowing here.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
exciting. That's better than it just being cold.
Yeah. I enjoy the snow. Big
Yeah.
fan of it. Yeah.
Checking out the re-edit of Rocky IV tomorrow night.
Yes, I heard about this, and then we're doing our not live show.
Yeah, spoilers.
What do you mean spoilers?
Hello everyone.
You mentioned it yesterday.
I didn't see you guys there. Hello everyone. Welcome to the Distraction Fightful YouTube distraction page. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, Fightful Distraction. YouTube.com/Fightful Distraction.
Distraction, Fightful, Distraction.
Yeah.
We're here again to talk about the World Wrestling Federation's latest mass release round. Not, very difficult at this point to come on and tell you guys that I'm shocked by anything. I'm not. You guys know that.
I was shocked by the timing.
Yes. Okay, so here's the thing, Jeremy Lambert. I don't know how you want to approach this. I'm going to set my stall immediately here. Okay, I'm going to make it very clear what I intend to do. I do not intend to talk about the moral good and bad of the World Wrestling Federation because I think anyone with a clue had figured that out many years ago. And if they hadn't, then they would have certainly figured it out over the last 18 months. I understand that. I'm not here to get into the consumption of said content. People can watch what they want. I ain't going to tell them they're right or they're wrong. I personally would like to just kind of generally discuss the men and women involved in this releases and what we think about, moving forward, where they could go. I know that's kind of controversial in some places of the internet because I completely get it. But let's be completely honest here, Jeremy. Discussing what's next for them is better than us just kind of sitting here and just wallowing in our own kind of, well, wrestling's bad. They don't really achieve anything.
Right. I 100%. I know a lot of people went live yesterday after it all happened and everything. Were you still doing the TEW show with?
Yes, we were. Yeah, we was 2.5 hours deep, and then all these releases. It's like, come on, bro, ridiculous timing, ridiculous.
Yeah. Oh, dude, I was at the girlfriend's house and doing laundry, and I checked my phone, and I'm like, releases happened. I gotta go back to the office and just took care of work. Yeah, I didn't even really want to talk about it because what's there to talk about in that sense of, all right, they did it again. Like, what are you going to do? So I'm much happier just talking about, hey, let's talk about the future of these men and women. I think we will get into a little bit of kind of what WWE may have screwed up because I do have at least thoughts on a couple of them of how did this happen? And of course, we should have seen this coming with them.
Mm-hmm. That's fine, absolutely. And I think there's definitely something to be said for what this means for their product, the quality of their product, what it means, and all that good stuff. There is a conversation to be had. I don't think today is the time to have it between you and I. I may bring it up on tonight's Late Night Grim where things are a little bit, we can kind of go long form. I think there's a conversation to be had about how viable a third promotion actually is beyond our cutesy tweets about Jeff Jarrett. I think you and I will tackle that on a big episode of Distraction one day. But I think all that you just said is fine. I mean, we both have a couple names that we know we're fans of and we can circle and talk about. It's just, it is really difficult, to be quite honest with you, to be kind of sincere and in my surprise or even disappointment, because it's just like, well, I'm going to be honest with you guys. The one act that everyone is talking about, and rightly so, is Hit Row.
Yeah.
But
do I think they should have been released? Absolutely not. Once they got called up to the main roster, and I put it in the title because I wanted to talk about this, they never stood a chance on the main roster because we know how that works. That act is not for a 70-year-old white man. It's just not. And they never stood a chance once they got to the main roster. And you could see it almost immediately. And if you didn't see it immediately, I don't know. But it never stood a chance on the main roster. It immediately lost everything that they had special in NXT. And then, of course, B-Fab was released 2 weeks into it. And maybe even a week into it. And now they're released 2 weeks later. So I don't think they ever stood a chance on the main roster. Does this mean they should have been released? Absolutely not. But we know how that main roster works, right, Joseph? That group for that audience of one wasn't going to work.
It wasn't. I think Hit Row is a really interesting act to kind of put a bow on that run because they actually had a tiny little existence. Like, when I did the deal where I did 24 features in a day, Swerve was one of them, and I want to say that was July. And it felt like they were just getting going with Hit Row in July, and here we are 4 months later. The wrestling timeline has accelerated dramatically. There was a few years there where it felt like everything was frozen still in WWE. The last 2 years have certainly not been that. Careers are coming and going in the blink of an eye. It's actually quite distressing how quickly that stuff's unfolding. Hit Row is an act that when I first saw them, I thought it was money main event. There were other times I saw them in a different presentation where I was less keen. Swerve is a special talent.
Yes.
And I don't say that to disparage the other guys and B-Fab. I think Ashanti Adonis has a great look. Top Dollar certainly has something to offer, and B-Fab the same. But Swerve is the guy that you look at and actually say, he could be a top heel in any promotion that, has a clue and wants to do good professional wrestling. So that's a big one. But as you said, it would be really almost insincere if I came on here and was like, I can't believe Vince McMahon didn't see the money in Hit Row. Of course he didn't see it. And there's a lot of people that lie to themselves about how that company's evolved. And you don't have to go listen, they've done a better job in that regard for a while. But that doesn't mean that the guys in charge are any different, Look at the track record of when you have Vince McMahon, a creator from Bruce Pritchard, and you have Johnny Ace as the head of talent. This dude, no. It's an outdated, front office. And it's wild how quickly things have changed. When we started doing the distraction, it felt like no one would ever leave that place. And now no one feels safe. And I don't need to tell anyone this because everyone knows that I concluded this a long time ago, but professional wrestling is built on emotional investment, and you are training the hardcore part of your fan base. They have no reason to invest. Now, do I think this will have any impact on their business? Not really.
No.
And that's the really sad part. And if I'm being honest with myself, do I think that there's a world in which all of these releases help an Impact or an MLW or a NWA, and they certainly could make the product better. But if we're being really honest with ourselves, Jeremy, they won't improve those companies' business. And wrestling is getting in a really dangerous place in that regard right now, where there's only we no longer can just do this blanket it'll be what's best for these guys. They can go and prove themselves as stars elsewhere. I don't know, man. That feels kind of phony at this point. AEW's got 130 wrestlers on board, I think, or something crazy like that. There's not the plethora of real. There's opportunities, but not in the real big time sense that we would like.
I mean, AEW is obviously the place to kind of showcase yourself. The other companies, ROH is pretty much, they're going on hiatus if nothing else, right? That would have been a platform for people, and they couldn't even stay afloat during all of this. Impact, I don't know what their platform is. There's good stuff in the independent scene. I actually wanted to go through and see of all of the releases these past 2 years of who is still out there doing well and everything, still kind of wrestling, because a lot of these people just kind of got out. It killed. Yep. It killed a lot of motivation for them. And I'm not even saying they're wrong for that, because that's what WWE does, right? They do it within their system of break you down to build you back up. And then sometimes they break you down and then release you, and then it's on your own to build yourself back up. And that's tough to do. It's very tough to do.
We have the chat here as kind of a tool to use. So I would like us to try our best here, because I don't know where this conversation would go, but now you bring it up, I'm interested. Let's try and think of some names that have been cut over the last 18 months that you kind of were unsure about their future that have found a real spot. So, for example, I'll give you Ty Conti's a perfect example. If you'd have told me when Ty Conti was released she wouldn't wrestle again, I'd have been like, sure. I don't know a lot about her background. She's obviously doing great. Who else fits that description? That someone that didn't have Steve Macklin's a good one. I like that one.
Macklin's definitely good.
Because the truth is you can't compare. It's like guys like Miro. It's like, come on, like he was going to find out. Cardona's interesting. I kind of had faith in him in my eyes, but I get it. He's definitely reinvented himself. Yeah, you get what I'm saying, right, Jeremy? Like Miro, like he was like a fringe top guy in WWE. He was going to make money somewhere in professional wrestling. It's different to some of these latest releases of guys that have barely found their foot in the industry. Deanna's a perfect example.
Yeah.
2.0 is good, yeah. I didn't think they were going to go to AEW. That was a real triumph for those guys. They've done well. Yeah, I'm trying to think of some of the names that fell through the cracks. I mean, there were a couple guys that Impact added at Slammiversary that
aren't even there.
Yeah, but they were cut the April before.
Yeah, they were cut in April 2020. Yeah.
Like
No Way and who else was it?
Matthew Ray Walt.
Yes, yeah, Drama King. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's still there, right?
I think so. He does his podcast. Like he seems to be doing well with this podcast.
He seems like a good guy. It's the point is that he was a free agent for legitimately over a year, you know?
Right.
And I also don't know what his deal is with Impact. Is he's on a contract or he's just coming in and out? I don't know. I look at the NWA and they're the one that really they get under my skin because there is like actually a fan base that wants. There is an actual fan base that wants to like care about NWA, and they just don't seem to be able to. They're like, yeah, we've got Darius Lockhart, and we've also just got this guy that no one wants to see, and it's like, good lord, man, please get out of your own way, Billy Corgan. You know.
They're bringing in now Austin Aries and these guys, and it's like, yeah, they could have hit on some of them. I don't know. There were certainly enough people that AEW wasn't going to pick up that they could have had their shot at, right? And
I assume so. It just depends. The money is obviously the big.
Yeah.
So that's the elephant in the room with like MLW too, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, there's a lot of these guys that I'd like to see wrestle some of these MLW talents, but like, are they going to actually be able to go there? Like, I don't know. So it's very difficult. What is your prediction? And again, folks, I understand predictions. Maybe it's too soon. It's better. At least we're going to see what they do next. You know, I'm going to cover that stuff. Jeremy knows, like, I cover those Impact specials when no one in the world wants me to. I mean, it's just the right thing to do.
Tomorrow night.
So on Monday, like, my intention is that will be my part of the show because I'm not watching the Survivor thing. So, what is your instinctual reaction when I say where will Swerve end up? Will it be with Hit Row around him still in AEW? Will they do that elsewhere? What do you think?
I think the other guys would very much like if Swerve stuck with Hit Row. It really comes down to Swerve, right? Because I don't think that act goes to AEW. I just don't. And I think if Swerve wants to go to AEW, he can go. So it really comes down to, do I want to continue to do this act, or do I want to go to AEW and kind of be a singles guy with the possibility, and maybe AEW wants it, but of the possibility that I'm not going to be with these guys.
Right. So it's difficult because there is a world in which, if done correctly, Hit Row does raise his ceiling somewhat.
Yeah.
There's another way where you just go, overcomplicates things, just like Swerve be a top heel, you know? It's difficult. I'm looking at the chat here. Yes, this Austin Aries talk. More than half of the releases joined the company after the last video game came out. Good lord, man. Contract security. Hit Row's interesting. I think, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but it feels like we can be pretty confident that John Morrison and Ty Valkyrie are going to find a promotion to share, I would guess. Yeah. Maybe go back to Impact, but
Impact, do some dates with AAA again. Yeah.
John Morrison is like, and everyone knows this that watches. Like, I'm not a huge fan of his, but he is such an awesome example of like how unfair that system is.
Yes.
In like whatever they give him, he tried his absolute best and got it over. And every time they put him inside the ropes, he had a great match, and he got no reward for that. Not even a tiny little, token little push on TV. He got nothing, man.
He came back in January 2020, so he came back in the I guess it would be technically before the Thunderdome stuff. So he comes back in January, and he's immediately back into his team with Miz after he had a good run outside of WWE. Like the Lucha Underground stuff was good. I enjoyed his Impact stuff. Like he had a good run. Just like, all right, we're gonna put you back here with Miz. He does the stuff with Miz. Yeah, it's your WWE comedy, and it wasn't for me, but there was an audience who enjoyed that, and he did well with it. He got some of that shit over. That dipstick, whatever the fuck
it was over. Yeah, when I was at the live event, it was over.
Like he got that stuff over. And when Miz turned on him, I legit saw this on my timeline, Joseph. I don't know if you paid attention to it. When Miz turned on, people were like, this is the big babyface push we're waiting for with John Morrison. There
were people legitimately, I'm not trying to be a dick here, but there were people that really were tweeting shit like, this is his time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it amazes me that our general cynicism is dismissed by these people after all the evidence that's ahead of them now. It amazes me.
He was supposed to have the match with Miz the following week, which would have been stupid, but Miz did Dancing with the Stars. So instead, they did what was even dumber, and they just had him lose the Cross, who, let that play out.
Yeah, I mean, that was what I was referring to earlier. Like, for the longest time, it felt like guys just stayed in one position forever in WWE. Man, has that changed as of late. You look at guys like Keith Lee and Karrion Kross and Swerve and all the Hit Row and even Tegan, like
that's
there's a lot, so we'll get into it in a moment. But the idea that like careers have really changed dramatically in the last 2 years in a way that, frankly, WWE's like kind of over the top talent hoarding had kind of prevented that from being the case. They've gone from one extreme to the other, right? When Jeremy, you were probably doing news when this was the case. There was a couple years there where if one guy left of their own accord, it was like, holy shit, they actually left WWE. They were just having everyone come through the doors. Now, and I'm not going to sit here and name them, but there is legitimately like 6, 7 talents that I feel like are truly safe to the point where I would actually read the notification and go, holy shit. That's one thing I do want to say. What? They don't even announce these releases anymore.
No, I saw you.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I saw your tweet about that last night, and they never really announce like the NXT releases. So when they haven't been announcing those, it's like, okay, sure. But these main roster ones, they used to, at least in April, and I feel like this is the last time they did this, was April. Bray was an exception because he was a singular release on a Saturday. But at least in April, they had like the big master list of everyone they released. And then since then, I'm not sure they've done like that list of, hey, we've released all these people. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mainly just get it from when Sean reports it.
Yeah. It's strange. There's a real kind of gloomy, cynical way of looking at it because they released, like, this news came out at like 9:30 on a Thursday before the go home to one of their bigger pay-per-views of the year. And it's like, if you didn't know better, Jeremy, If you didn't know better, you'd sure think they just wanted to let this news just slide under the radar. And, like, let's be honest, that's basically what it is. Same deal when they did it during SmackDown. And the truth is most of the audience doesn't care. And the more that you put it in this kind of timings, they definitely won't care. By Saturday morning, they'll be talking about the latest time Roman Reigns said, acknowledge me and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, SmackDown's tonight. People are going to talk about that. They're doing a bunch of media for Survivor Series. So that's getting covered. Obviously, Survivor Series. It's in New York. So, they're hitting a lot of media on that. And, people are going to be talking about Survivor Series. It's very, Reese says it, like cowards. They won't admit it publicly. Like, it's cowardly when they do. Like, when they do the actual releases. Yeah, they won't admit it publicly. So, like, if you don't follow online and whatnot, and you're just a fan watching, you just, okay, where'd this wrestler go? And then by the end of it, you probably don't care because they hit you with some new person.
Right.
Like, oh, let me pop for this person.
The one thing I will say is, and listen, what I'm about to say, I'm not going to name these people because there's no need to, but there are some guys and girls on the roster that have been there forever. And you could reasonably argue, even though you shouldn't be firing anyone that has 4 or 5 years on their deal, especially, but you could reasonably argue there are some people on the roster that have run their course. They've done what they need to do on their shows. They've been on them for too long. As of late, there is this trend where, like, they're firing people that haven't done anything on their TV.
Yeah.
Like, Keith Lee, Cross, and I know there's more stuff to Cross, but like, I'm just going to name him because whatever. Hit Row is a perfect example. Tegan's a good example. There's a couple of others that slip my mind where it's like they were literally brought up to inject some level of like fresh to the program. They were cut before they could be on the program, you know? And that part of it's really, and again, it's hard to say it without saying they should have fired these guys. That's not what I'm saying. It's relevant. But it is kind of, it is an interesting element to the strategy where it almost feels like because the office is such old guard heavy now with Bruce and Johnny Ace, it feels like the new guys are just getting their legs cut out from under them before they even stand up. You know, it's a really puzzling time. And that brings us to Tegan Knox, who, look, I can imagine what people are saying on Twitter right now. Obviously had a lot of issues with injuries, and that happens, right? However, when you get her and you say, okay, we're going to put her on the main roster, to do what they did with her over the last few months is an absolute all-timer. You put her in a tag team for no apparent reason. Okay, if you're going to do it, commit to it. Well, they did commit to it. They had to beat the champs about 15 times to earn a title shot they never got. Then the team was broken up in the draft, which neither party was aware of, as far as I know, until they actually saw it on Twitter. The other half of the team turns heel because, even though she's an incredibly marketable babyface, that's another conversation for another day. And she's, poor Tegan's over there, doesn't show up on Raw, was never seen in the end segments, as far as I know, where they're just watching the screens, which was like, an alarm bell. And she's gone. And it's like, what has she possibly done that's upset them that much they don't want to do anything with her? Like, isn't she worth a TV match? Couldn't she have wrestled, Becky or Bianca on TV in a 7-minute match? You could see what you have rather than just this constant, she just didn't seem to get a foot in the door. It's puzzling.
She came back from the latest injury to NXT to do the feud with Candice. That literally that same week she got called up. So it completely killed the NXT injury or angle. And then, they put her in a tag team that made no sense from the start. They did everything you said. And then, she was released. They really didn't – they didn't give her a chance on that. And this is what they love to do. They have the talent. At least they had. They keep releasing everybody. They had the talent of you can just do like a 7-minute Becky Tegan match, kind of see what you got, and then maybe transition to something else from there. Instead, they're just going to run the same Becky match you've seen 100 times because that's all they know how to do. And Tegan, I felt horrible for because I literally just listened to an interview with Tegan. She was on Taylor Wilde's podcast this week, and she's talking about how it's such a good situation. Her knee is healthy. They found out she'd been wrestling with no ACL for a year and a half. And she underwent surgery and she felt good. She said it was healthy and everything. She was talking about the Performance Center and praising it. One thing, and I haven't put this article out there and I might just have to scrap the whole thing, but she was praising how well they do with the mental health and everything of they really take care of you. And if you have an issue, you can go and talk to them and everything. And it's just
well, that's the other part of this. Sorry, finish your point, but that's same. Yeah.
This cripples people's mental health because now you have somebody like Tegan who, like you said, didn't seem to do anything wrong as far as we know. From everything we know, didn't do anything wrong. She's seeing she got released. She's probably thinking, what did I do wrong? Right. And now she's questioning herself.
Leo Rush had a tweet about this on the last round of releases, which unfortunately was about 2 weeks ago rather than anything longer than that, where he talked about kind of the environment that it creates and how toxic it is and the anxiety it creates and all of that stuff, man. And that's really that's honestly maybe the bit that on a human level is most disappointing is imagine actually being one of the guys on that card right now, just looking over your shoulder every turn. They did cuts 2 weeks ago. It's insane. I just The other thing too is with Tegan is like she's one I worry for in the sense that like we all agree she's good enough to be on TV for any company she wants to work for, but she's one of those people like she didn't get any. Her name recognition really wasn't helped by being on the main roster because she was never on TV. So like we talk about AEW can't hire everyone, and it's like the names of free agents is piling up very quickly, you know. And if you left WWE after like having a quiet last year, because unfortunately she was out for a lot of it, and then when she came back, they did nothing with her. It's like it's really hard for me to come on here and just do the kind of positive, well, it'll be okay. It's like I don't know if it will be. I'm not going to sit here and pretend it will be. There's not how many places that are paying very well. I hate to break, like if she went to, or if anyone went to some of these other promotions, yeah, they would do good work, but like it wouldn't be this awesome thing for their career necessarily. Like, I'm not an expert. I haven't got that many people that I'm talking to in professional wrestling, but I'm pretty confident that like a lot of these companies that are running TV are not paying these people like television stars. Let me tell you, their shows don't rate well enough to do that to begin with. So that's the other thing is like if you even just look on. So for example, and we both agree as people to watch their products, Tegan will be a good fit in AEW, right?
Yeah.
You look at their TBS bracket, and it's like. Damn, they've actually got a lot of women that need to be on TV more than they already are. You just look at people like Kiera Hogan and Diamante that are not on TV. And it's like, well, Ember's a free agent. Mia Yim's a free agent. And it's like, and, you know, there's Meech mentioned that the idea of flooding the marketplace. It's really brutal and it's tough to talk about. But, like, I can't just sit here and do the bullshit where it's like, it'll all be fine, guys. It's like, a lot of these people don't want to work for these companies, man. They're not very good. You know, they don't pay well enough. They don't have good exposure. It's hard.
Yeah, we talked about this on the last set of releases, like you said, which was literally 2 weeks ago. It was November 4th when they did it. Like we talked about it then of not everyone. You think that hey, this person's gonna sign this place, this person's gonna sign this place, and everything. Like AEW can only sign. It's true. You make the joke of like they can sign everybody, but they can only sign so many people, and there's only so many people worth being like, yeah, I'm going to sign this guy, and I'm actually going to do something with him. Like, I do think Tony wants to try to get people that he can and still let him work indies and everything, and like that's admirable. But most of these guys are just going to try to latch on to wherever they can in independent wrestling. If they get on Impact, if they can get NLW, but I don't know what the pay is at these places, and it certainly isn't like WWE money. And if nothing else with WWE, like you had some type of financial security there.
Yes, that was the big thing. Yeah. And that's obviously with that changing, it really becomes very, very difficult. It doesn't help that the situation with getting into Japan is so tough.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at guys like Jonah and Bud, like it looks like they're going to try and do the new Japan deal. And how much easier would that be for them if they could actually get to Japan? You know, it's like it's a nightmare. It's all so kind of it's such a difficult thing.
That's the visa thing is another thing. That's another place where Tegan might have some trouble.
Yeah,
because look how long it took the Iconics to get on television. Look how long it took Jonah to latch onto somewhere. Like it takes a while with this visa thing, and that screws people over as well. Who is somebody Katrina Cortez? She's got to sell all her stuff because her visa expired, and WWE is not going to help with that. Like doing this to the international talent and then not helping with the visas is another level of just complete bullshit and inhumanity on their part.
Yeah, and again, it will mean ultimately nothing because unfortunately, they have built a system that relies on maybe 2 to 3 individuals, and the rest is just filling time. And beforehand, for whatever reason, good for the talent because they got paid for a while there, they had built this system but refused to use it that way, right? But they had a system that didn't really need individual talent or star power, but they were signing every single great individual in the industry. At some point, they realized, man, I think that first set of releases was a big one, like, they can basically do this and have no real ramifications. And they will have ramifications for you and I. Raw would be a better show for you and I if Deonna Purrazzo was the top heel in the women's division, or she was featured in the women's division, I should say.
Yeah.
You know, SmackDown would be a better show if Swerve was rolling and was climbing the card. so on and so forth. Keith Lee, Miro, how much better would Raw be if Miro was up there? Sure. Would the viewership be any different? Probably not. No. So you end up in this really precarious position where it's like there is no security because there's very little chance that any of these releases are eventually going to truly come back to bite them beyond us two on a podcast saying they missed on Swerve. Oh, look how good he is as the TNT champ right now. Because ultimately that means nothing to them. And I wish I could kind of say otherwise and be like, they'll pay for this. They're letting them go a lot of great people and a lot of talented people. But I don't believe that for a second. They've basically secured themselves. Now, when the end of this TV deal comes, maybe something will change. Personally, I don't think you're going to have to negotiate it. I think they'll be sold by then. That's my belief, okay? But for now, man, they're making money regardless of what you and I think. And that's really kind of sad.
And here's the other thing is like, yeah, they're missing on all of these people.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to figure out how to word this.
It's difficult.
Yeah, they're missing on all of these people, but they don't necessarily need these people with the talent that they already have if they had competent creative in the first place. I hope that makes sense. It's not to say like you could look, if Miro, if they had him and they used him better, it'd be great. Their television would be better. They got guys who can do kind of Miro's role. They just don't use it. They don't do anything. They're just not creative competent.
And look, there's definitely something to what Mark mentioned in the chat about the ratings. I kind of think that's the trend because the product's terrible. Which is to Jeremy's point. You need to do.
My point.
Right.
It's like they're not losing ratings because they're releasing all of this talent. I really don't think that. I don't think people are actually being like, oh, you release more people, I'm going to tune out. There's some people who I'm sure are like that because your investment gets hurt in this stuff.
Yeah.
Like you can't invest in any of these people, right? Like there's no reason to invest in any of these people. You don't know they don't have plans for any of them.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I don't think their ratings are getting hurt because of all of these releases. Their ratings are getting hurt because they don't know what they're doing creatively. And that was my overall point of, we can say they missed on Swerve. They missed on Keith Lee. They missed on all of these people. Even if they didn't have these people, their show still sucks.
Yeah, they could still very much, with the people that are left standing, create an infinitely better program.
Yeah.
And the truth is, it isn't the bodies that are on board, it's more the way they use. Like, they've still got Ricochet, for Christ's sake. I mean, he doesn't do anything on that show. Like, there's loads of examples of it. I don't even need to name just Mustafa Ali. There's nothing on their show. Like, the show, as a wrestling fan,
it was
objectively their show. If you go back to 2019, with the talent they had, they should have been producing the best content they've ever produced, objectively. Okay, and now even if you went all hands on deck, it wouldn't be as good as it could have been in 2019. However, it still should be way better. And I've always been of the belief, and Jeremy, you know this. I think in the end they're going to move down to one roster. And that'll probably be after they're bought out by one of these big conglomerates. And they'll have one crew rather than the brand split, and they'll run it as they need to it's basically as they need to churn that content out and keep making the money they're making. It's just difficult. Like Mark's correct, absolutely. The creative being bad, that's why that's why you miss on guys like Miro. But at the same time, as you said, like there are other guys that are still there that you could have featured. They just don't. They don't do it because they don't care to. They don't have any interest in that. Like, it's really hard for me to believe this will actually have any ramifications. To be honest with you,
I doubt it will. They'll do another set of releases a week before Christmas next month, and
everyone will log on Twitter and say they're shocked and surprised,
and
then they'll just forget about it and move on, and then eventually one of the release wrestlers will say something mean about WWE in an interview, and we'll all decide they were actually bad. We'll move on, It's all horse shit, and all this stuff about support the wrestlers, not the promotion. Waiting to see that in evidence from most of these accounts. Don't actually see that happen. Waiting for that to be the deal. It's all, it's all complete smoke and mirrors. You and I know that. And I'll say this, there needs to be more evidence that people are willing to watch these other promotions, because the idea of like another AEW arriving, it ain't happening, guys. I would love it. It would be great if there was another AEW just alongside it on a different network. It's not going to be the case, unfortunately. You know, if you do get a third promotion, it's going to be a lot more comparable to Impact and MLW and them than it is AEW. So, I don't know if you've seen the card for this weekend's Impact show, Jeremy. Have you seen that? Someone on Twitter pointed out that a lot of the card are guys that have been released in the pandemic by WWE. Okay? How much buzz have you seen for that card?
They just announced like the full card last night.
Impact?
Yeah.
Have you seen anyone talking about it though? Is my kind of
no. This is kind of sort of my point as well. Is like they're just now getting around to like announcing the full thing.
They have immense flaws, but like what I'm getting at is that show will be available for around $8 on Impact Plus.
Yeah.
If I go on Twitter when that show's on, I will not going to see many tweets about this show. And I'm not saying that is the audience's fault. They could do a much better job of being giving a hook and being interesting, certainly. However, there is a reality to like people only want to watch so much wrestling in a week, man.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people that are bored of WWE and they're content with AEW, and they may say they want a third promotion, but they ain't really going to watch it. They don't actually care. They just, it's a lot of posturing, frankly. It's unfortunately the industry's in a situation where if WWE doesn't want these guys, it's going to be real tough, real tough, based on what I've seen.
I didn't know Impact. I didn't know Turning Point was actually this weekend. I cover this stuff. I did not know it was like actually this weekend. They haven't done a great job promoting it, and there hasn't been any buzz on my timeline for it. Like there hasn't been anything. Dion says, support women's wrestling. Then Empower, according to reports, did 3,500 buys.
Yeah, well, NWA, I don't know. I don't know what they generally do. I'm not gonna lie to you. I remember reading that one of their pay-per-views did like 800 buys. So
yeah, true.
I don't know. I agree with the point though. Like, it's a real thing. You said it, and I'm gonna reiterate it. Like that meme about AEW can't sign everyone. Like we have to be honest with ourselves. Like they can't.
Yeah.
Like if we're being really honest about it, they're about their limit. The last pay-per-view card, they had to like pair Andrade and Malachi versus Cody and Pac to get those guys on the pay-per-view. You've got women that have not been seen on TV in the longest. Like, it's a thing. I think they could probably add a couple more, but like they're not going to be Russians just add everyone. And the rest is the rest. Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor is the way that show's been promoted by some of the talent, Jeremy. They seem to have a very similar outlook to you and I, which is end is nigh. I don't know if you saw the thing they put out with the Briscoes, but they were like promoting the show by, in a lot of ways, just kind of saying this is the final battle, the literal final battle. And I really hope that's not the case, because with all these new releases, Ring of Honor being around in any form is good for the industry, right? You just need places. You need stuff where where guys can find their footing in a different setting. It's kind of a concerning time right now, I have to be honest.
Any place where they can get a steady paycheck, even if it means taking independent dates on top of that. And I hate to say this, even if it means like you still got to get like some type of second job, but as long as you can get a steady paycheck from one company and you get some visibility out of the company. What's Ring of Honor's visibility at this point? It's not great, but at least, you get on some type of television. You learn how to work in a television aspect a little bit. You work in front of a decent audience sometimes, and then it potentially leads to more opportunity elsewhere. Like the fact that even if Ring of Honor isn't what it used to be, and it is what it is now, the fact that there's just one less of those places still isn't good for the industry, even if Ring of Honor is where it turned out to be.
Well, Ring of Honor is a great example where we both agree they did a poor job of promoting that they were free online, right? We both agree that. They did a poor job of telling people you can actually watch our TV every week for free on our website or on Fight TV. Unquestionably poor job. There is also truth, though, to the reality that people did know and just didn't want to watch and didn't care. And that is on Ring of Honor for not being interesting enough, certainly. It is also an indication, though, that people have enough wrestling. And, unfortunately, we have to be realistic about who the fan is, who this elusive fan is. Like, if they're around, then I'm assuming AEW's got them. Because believe it or not, contrary to the kind of loud minority that screams about how AEW's too silly and stuff, like, the audience that wants just like the edgy AEW part to be the whole show is like a huge niche. Like, that person probably is already watching these promotions. There's just not many of them. They don't, they're loud on Twitter. Doesn't mean there's a lot of them in reality. It's a lot, man. Like, I've had the experience. Like, my brother's, he never watched any non-WWE, and he's an AEW fan now, and he has to watch, like, he watches the TV. That's 3 hours, And then if he was going to watch anything else, he'd probably try to watch the YouTube shows. Well, that's another 2 shows. He certainly ain't rushing to watch MLW Fusion, It's a lot. There's a lot of wrestlers, and it's like, we all kind of have to kind of accept that, like, the audience that really wants there to be like a different promotion on every day is us nerds. And that isn't enough to actually fuel a promotion in terms of popularity and exposure, let me tell you. Like, it's not. And again, Ring of Honor should have promoted better. They should have been more interesting. But, like, let's be honest. A lot of people just didn't actually want, like, they didn't care. Same thing with Impact. Like, Access TV, is it in a terrible network to be on? Yes. Could you sign up for like $1 and watch the whole show on YouTube every week? Yes. Do people do it? No. Like, it is what it is. It's not a great sign, but it's the truth.
It is. Now let's talk about where all these people are going to go, Joseph.
Okay. All right. So, Shane Thorne is interesting. I'm wondering if he's going to reunite with his old partner.
I feel like he's New Japan strong bound.
Is Mikey Nichols still on New Japan?
I'll double check. I don't know if he's been on there for a while.
He got booked initially, didn't he?
Yeah.
I could actually see Machine Gun wanting to do like a little tag program with them too, because I know they're friends. That'd be interesting for Impact. That the Impact tag ranks have always been so just bare. They could help in that regard. If he wants to be a singles, go ahead.
So Mikey Nichols, he hadn't done New Japan since World Tag League 2019. He really hasn't been active. He's only wrestled 1, 2, 3, 4 matches.
Australia, I don't know if he's still in Australia, but
he is.
But
he is.
So look, if they want to be a team, there's options. He's a really interesting one, Shane Thorne, Shane Haste of singles, because he's a guy that always stood out as a tag. And people would always go, oh, he could be at singles. And obviously he got no chance to show that in WWE, not even like a glimpse of him. Again, not even a guy that got a match with a top guy to see what he could do. He could be one, quite frankly, that could shock people, I think. I'm not saying that will happen, because I actually think it will just go back to being, the TMDK guys, as a tag. But, like, I could see a world in which he comes in to a promotion and people go, holy shit, where has this guy been? Well, the answer is he's been sitting in catering watching TV every week at WWE. I think there's a real chance of that. I hope so anyway. What do you think, Jeremy? Any instincts on Shane?
I think he's New Japan strong bound if that's where he wants to end up. And if Mikey Nichols, if they can get him to America from Australia, it just feels like he's ended up back with TM61 or the Mighty Don't Kneel. Whichever way you want to.
A good team.
Look at it. Look, when they came into NXT, they were great. Loved them.
Mm-hmm.
But, things happen. Think he'll reprise his role as Slapjack anywhere?
Maybe in like a Talking Shopper Mania.
Oh, he'll definitely do that shit. Definitely.
Drake Maverick, he posted an awesome video last night.
Dude.
Yeah.
So, first off, the video was awesome. The fact that, like, he had that in the chamber, like, he knew. And that's shitty. Like, he knew that my time's going to come again at some point. I'm going to have this ready to go when it happens.
Yeah. Well, he's a guy that I couldn't have been less surprised to see him produce that night because he's just one of those. He figures out ways of being creative and ways of getting out there, and he nailed it with that. There's a place for him. I don't know like immediately what it is. My instincts is like he'll just go and be a character on Impact's TV. And the only reason I say that is because they do a lot of the like character, like the vignettes and pre-tapes they do, and he's awesome at those. And he obviously had a run there before that went really well. He's really versatile in that he can be kind of a heel comedy character or he can be a babyface underdog. Like when he was in TNA the first time, he did some awesome stuff as a real babyface, like working EC3 and doing all that stuff. Man, he was great. AEW is a tough fit, I find, when I try to picture that one. I gotta be honest with you. I'm not saying he couldn't do it. I just don't see how they would like present or frame him on TV.
My gut on Drake is he does an EC3 thing. I'm sure they're going to do a Control Your Narrative, Free the Narrative 3. I feel like he'll be part of that in some aspect. I could see a spot for him in AEW as like a manager. They love their factions.
Yeah.
AEW, Joseph. I don't know if you know this, but they love factions. And I could see him coming in as like a manager who also works like when he needs to.
So a presentation, I mean, not exactly because he was a goof in this too, but more akin to what he should have been when he was managing like AOP, where he's like, he has like a big, an act that he can kind of be the mouthpiece for. That works. Right. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, he can do a plethora of things on some of these TVs because he could be like an authority figure. He could be a manager. He can do all that stuff.
He's a guy who you give him anything, any role, he's going to kill it. Like, that's just a talented guy.
Yep, absolutely. It's another one that just, there's a lot to talk about with him in the sense that that poor dude, like they made it an angle that he reclaimed his job and then fired him a year later. Like,
fired his tag team partner first, and then fired him.
Yeah, the HFO thing's interesting. I gotta be honest, guys, and like if that's how Spud gets his gig, then like hell, nothing but love. I'll accept it, but I think HFO probably is nearing its end in terms of being like a bigger on TV. So I don't know if that's the play. I think it's probably high time that like Private Party moves away and they become more of a. Well, that's another conversation for another day. Well, I mean, we've talked about all the other people here that we should probably talk about. Top Dollar's interesting. I honestly have some respect for like his confidence in himself.
Yeah.
But like, he probably should. Someone in his circle probably should have been like, man, you don't need to tweet that. Because here's the thing with that, okay? The tweet I'm talking about, to be clear, is the now infamous Weekend promo.
Yeah.
And the real core belief behind that tweet is not really very sinister at all. It's literally as innocent as he kind of believed in his heart that they were good enough, that the system would be fair enough that they would climb the ranks. Because we can do it all. That was his attitude. We can do it all. There's no way we're going to fail in the system. But he just, unfortunately, he didn't realize that there is no like cream will rise in that promotion. No. It's been gone for the longest time.
As much as they want to always say cream rises, grab brass ring, and all that.
Yeah, it's whole shit. Yeah, it's been that way for the longest. So now I don't know the guy. He's like, look, we can't pretend otherwise. He can't really like, he didn't help himself with some of the shit he did on Twitter, and that's whatever. I've probably been the same, so I can relate. I get it. But like, if he wants to wrestle, I mean, he's a big athletic guy. I'm sure they can find something for him to do somewhere. Maybe him and Adonis be a team somewhere. I don't know. Like, Adonis is one of the. I've only seen him work a couple times. His look is like, my God. I remember seeing that dude on 205 Live before any of this hit rows. I'm like, holy shit, he looks like a movie star. So. There's a place for both of those guys and B-Fab too, who looks like a star. I just haven't seen enough to tell you with confidence where it is. That makes sense.
It comes down, a good part of it will come down to what Top Dollar actually wants to do, because maybe I'm wrong, but I listened to a few of his interviews and he definitely seemed like a WWE dream guy.
Yeah.
And to where like once that ended, he's just unsure of what he was really going to do elsewhere. And obviously his tweets and stuff probably didn't endear him to a lot of places, but I'm with you. Like he thought the system was different and that they could rise to the top because they could promo, and that's just not the case how it works. The problem with that is by doing the stuff with the Bucks and everything, like they upset people with that, or he upset some people by doing that stuff, and that's gonna, that could burn him. I do wonder if he tries to go. People have mentioned hosting gigs. Maybe he's got a podcast. Maybe he continues to do those hosting gigs. Maybe he tries to throw more into his rap career. I just don't know if Top Dollar is a guy that's just gonna want to be making the towns every single week.
I will say quickly, because I talked about this a little bit on Patreon last night, that a lot of this Twitter stuff is ultimately harmless. I will say that with all due respect, his handling of the Jinder Mahal diss track was like an absolute tutorial on how not to use Twitter. I mean, it was. And listen, I understand. I couldn't put up with that shit on mentions either. But that was an L that he should have just taken. And he was so online, man. He's sitting there trading insults for people. It was just not even trading insults, just like hiding replies, and pretending it wasn't a thing. It was a mess. So if people are overselling his bad Twitter stuff, I would hope it's more rooted in that one where there was some actual offense taken than like him being mean to the Young Bucks. Because you and I are like, let's be real, if you're actually offended on the Young Bucks' behalf, like, come on, grow up. That's cool. But that one was like, please stop. It was because I'm a fan of that act, and I was like, oh God, this is going to go poorly. I don't believe for a second that's why they got cut, though. Absolutely not. That's bullshit.
No.
They're just looking for excuses, man.
Yeah.
Just looking for excuses. They probably didn't have anything for a hit row, and maybe that was their reason they could, just move on. I think it's about everyone in terms of where they're going to go, though, right? Like, do you have anything extra on Adonis and B-Fab?
Adonis is probably, I feel like he will be a guy that might make the towns and stuff. Yeah. I could see him going to like MLW. Right. B-Fab, I'm not sure. I almost want to put her in the same as Top Dollar of like, I'm not sure if that's what she wants to do, because she has like some star quality to her, and I just don't know if it's in wrestling though.
Yeah, there's a lot of overlap there in terms of you just don't know what they want, right? It's difficult. Yeah. It's this, I'm assuming they have a lot of options in terms of careers. So, look, Hit Row will go down as honestly one of the more interesting WWE experiments in that they had about a 5-month existence, seemingly got over huge in an era of NXT that didn't go over anything, was called up immediately when some of the pieces probably wasn't ready, and then was released within a month. I mean, help me if I'm wrong here, Jeremy, but I don't think there's many comparisons to that, to be honest with you. That's like kind of a unique case. That's different to a guy like Swerve's, he's been around for some time, but it's still different to guys like Keith Lee and Cross, where it's like everyone knew what they were, Vince didn't get them and moved on. This was an act that they like built in-house, everyone liked, and they just immediately got rid of. It's insane. Yeah.
The Hit Row stuff, I mean, I said it earlier, but for newer viewers, I thought it was very good on NXT. It was definitely something different on NXT at a time where that show could feel a little lifeless. And by all accounts, they were allowed to be themselves in NXT. They got to WWE, and Vince was going to do what Vince does with that kind of act. And I never thought it was going to work on the main roster because of that, and it didn't. Again, right. It's not because of their talent. It's just because of everything we've known about Vince McMahon and the company. Certain people can break away. Somebody mentioned New Day earlier. New Day was failing at first as well. They became like a meme comedy act. Like that's completely different than an actual hip hop group of, Vince ain't gonna notice that. Like he's not connected with that. He's got guys out there popping themselves doing some comedy and stuff and making fun of children and whatnot. Like that's fine. But
Yeah,
Hip
it's
hop,
different. Yeah.
Vince, yeah, they didn't know anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it's worth saying this. I think we're about done here, but it's what I probably should say this because I dunked on old Triple Paul a lot on our program, and even there was one hilarious closing statement where I just put the boots to them and all that stuff. Like I don't, Triple H he is what he is, right? Interesting guy, interesting piece of wrestling history. Hope he's well in terms of health. Obviously, that goes without saying. I will say that for all my criticism of that NXT product, I hope everyone is aware that, like, I absolutely understand that he had a better grasp of where wrestling was going than the people that are in charge now. Like I had a lot of fun dunking on that dude when he was getting beat in the demo and all this shit. It's funny to me. Sorry, it is. However, it is very, very clear when you look at the NXT that he was creating and crafting. Like, he definitely had a better grasp on the industry's trends than Bruce Pritchard and these dudes. Like, and I'm not saying it was perfect, but like I was at Takeover New Orleans, like I remember those takeovers fondly, and there was a vibe to them that the only comparison I can make is the shit that we're seeing right now over at AEW. And it's on a different level, obviously. But there's truth to that comparison. There really is.
No, NXT was that alternative AEW until AEW came along and just did it bigger and better.
They were the real alternative almost, right? It's weird. Right. Like when they came along, it almost became, and as Meech mentioned, the stuff with the women's division is big too. That's a big part of his legacy, rightly so.
Yeah.
But like, Shoot always says to me, NXT was the alternative until we got a real one.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to that, but that's not Triple H's fault, but it is true, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we've had our fun with Triple H. I feel like we've also been fair in defending him of the things he did do for NXT and the things that he couldn't control when he handed Vince, hey, here's Finn Balor, here's Shinsuke Nakamura, here's Samoa Joe, and nothing came of it. Like,
exactly. You can only do so much. You can lead a horse to water and all that good stuff. It's difficult. I don't know, man. It's I'll say this: people can watch whatever they want. I do get like when I see this stuff, it makes me happy that I'm not one of the people that these idiots can just say, well, you're going to watch anyway too, because Jeremy can confirm I will not watch anyway. Nor will he, for that matter, unless he's getting paid to. So watch what you want. The one thing I'll say is if like any wrestling you're watching regularly makes you angry and upset, probably time to reassess whether that needs to be some of the wrestling you're watching. I mean that because I've been there. No need, trust me. But I'm not here to talk about the right and wrong in terms of consuming content. We all do, horse shit. We all do stuff that's linked to some sort of filth and corruption. I would just say, this is my tip for the day. Ready for this, Jeremy? Try your best not to go into wrestlers' mentions 5 minutes after they lost their job and inform them that this is just business. Capitalism is here. Get the fuck out of here.
People do that?
Oh, check Ty Valkyrie's quote tweets.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah, when she was...
Yeah, she was firing, brother.
Well, I actually, I hate tweet articles. I was like, oh, yeah, that's an easy one. But
she was getting obliterated by people telling her that this is capitalism. Like she's supposed to be level-headed about her and her husband losing their jobs.
When she lost her job, I thought it was bullshit. One, because she just gotten there and she never really got the big opportunity in NXT. And if they apparently weren't going to use her on the main roster. And even if they were, look what happens there. Morrison was over in the UK during that, just shit timing. And then, 2 weeks later, they're going to fire her husband. She had every right to be pissed off. And look, I think she is right. That company doesn't care about the talent. We've talked about, they released her while her husband's still employed and he's over in the UK. They released these international talents, don't help them out with visas and everything.
This is where, and this is what we were talking about earlier. I wish the industry had more big money, major league options so that someone like Ty Valkyrie, who's done what she's done, could just say fuck them all along, Yeah. Because to me, her having to go and be like NXT to begin with was horseshit. She's been on TV for years. If you want to sign her, put her on Raw or SmackDown. If not, don't. However, unfortunately, she can't really have that attitude when she's looking for places to go, because there aren't many places you can really go and make the kind of money she was hoping to make, you know? Because I saw a lot of people tweeting her, well, you still sign her, and it's like, how many options do you think these people have, man? You know, like this ain't the NBA, folks. There ain't 30 teams lining up to sign you to a deal. Like, there's not. If she was in Impact, she knew what that money was, and she wanted to take the big swing at the big place, and she got no real opportunity to make that stick. Total shit. All of it was. She should have been treated with way more respect than that. But that's an industry-wide problem because there's no leverage. But, we've got into that before. We know that deal.
Yeah. Let me read some chats real quick.
Okay.
Joseph, you mentioned leading a horse to water. There's a famous Eddie Kingston line where he said, you can lead a horse to the water. If the horse doesn't drink the water, it's not a good horse. You got to drown the horse.
My God. That recent Eddie Kingston quote?
Yeah, what interview? It was from some interview that I listened to.
What was he talking about?
Helping the young talent. He's like, I basically can help them as much as I can. If they don't want to listen to me, fuck them.
Yeah. It seems like most of them listen to him, to be honest. Yeah, it seems, wasn't always the case from what I can gather, but it seems like that way now.
Genetic Ghost says, watch Swerve in a team versus the Elite. It was an amazing UK show back in 2017 where Kenny and the Bucks put them all over. Hard at the end of the show. I hope he can see that again, trying to find silver lining. Kate says, a long-time listener, first-time bobber chatter. I'm not calling it that. Is ROH bigger name than GCW? No. To me, they feel equal but very different. Love you guys. Sorry you got promoted and had to write about more releases, Jeremy. Such is the job.
Yeah, owned. Was a question about ROH and GCW?
Yeah.
Well, ROH certainly has a bigger, his name value in general is certainly bigger, but its buzz is so far distant, unfortunately, that it doesn't really matter. It's a shame. I'm really intrigued. This might sound morbid, but I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of intrigued to see the quote, the buy rate that the Final Battle gets. Because anyone that's ever watched Ring of Honor is probably going to try to watch Final Battle just because of what it represents in theory. That will give a good insight into what the reach actually is of the promotion. As sad as that sounds.
And Kate also says, cynical take, but is it possible to call up plus release them just to get 90-day non-compete instead of 30 days? 100%. But see, that is the thing with that is that doesn't help WWE, I don't think. Because then they're paying them for the 90 instead of the 30.
It does, though, because the level of buzz is so affected.
Sure.
So here's how I explained it the other day, okay? This is going to scare you, Jeremy.
Oh, no.
How long ago does it feel? Now, I know it was only 2 weeks. But, it feels like a long time ago poor Keith Lee got released, right?
Yeah.
If he was to debut in AEW on the first day of his no-compete ending, it'll be February. Brother.
Yeah.
By February, you and I would have talked about 101 other things, and it's cool and all, you pop for it, but it's so hard for wrestlers to maintain that buzz. I honestly don't disagree with you, though, just because 30 days at this point is also the way the news round is now. But I don't think Kate's wrong to say that, it may seem cynical, but I think there's probably something to it, if I'm being honest with you.
I think there might be a little something to it. I also just think that they're
fucking idiots.
Yeah. I'm not trying to give WWE the benefit of the doubt here. I truly don't think they're we're going to release these people at some point in the next, in the next 2 weeks. Let's call them up first, so they have to do 90 instead of 30, and then we're going to release them. I truly think it's hey, let's call them up, and then let's see what we can do with them. And then after 2 weeks, they just give up, and it's oh, well, fuck it. Let's just release them.
It's probably fair. They're so incompetent, It's difficult to really. And people how can they be incompetent? You see how much money they make? It's yes, as a wrestling operation, I mean, as a wrestling operation, I think they're objectively competent at this point. They've blown it with elite talent.
Yeah.
As a business, they do a good job of getting those, rights deals and doing all this other whole shit with promote like this. But as a wrestling promotion, they suck. Yeah. Kate brings it out of the chat. The draft thing is outrageous. The draft was 6 weeks ago.
It's another thing of just incompetence. They think they want to do one thing, And then a day later, they decide they're going to do something else. This is what they do.
Yeah.
This is literally what they do.
Yeah, it's hilarious if we're being honest. It's so bad.
I tweeted it last night because I had nothing better to tweet, but it's like, we know who this company is. They've told us they tell us every single week who they are on screen and off screen. It's just like, it doesn't surprise me anymore. None of it surprises me.
Me either. But
the talent as well.
It is like objectively funny, sad, all of the above. That there is like a debate as to whether or not this is even like bad, you know? Yeah. Like, it's like, imagine any other promotion struggling this much with such great talent. And imagine it meaning, like, ultimately their fan base being so unmoved by it all. It's incredible, man. This is like historic levels of wastefulness and incompetence. And, you know, all of the above, it's historic levels. They're running through top talent at like an unprecedented pace. But again, I'm sure everyone will be, you know, fired up about how good the Survivor Series was. And we'll wait until the next round of releases to do the whole thing again. It's like it's a never-ending cycle. It's terrible. And I'm not, again, this isn't me telling anyone they should do something, like protest. Like, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it's kind of a bummer, like how just interchangeable they've made all these people. I mean, that's just not what wrestling is or should be. It's sad.
When this stuff happens, I legitimately question why I continue to like cover and watch this stuff every single time.
Like the whole industry?
Mainly WWE. Like mainly WWE.
So
because I'd still watch AEW. I like AEW. But WWE, I really question why it's covered.
How do you feel about? Well, yeah, this is the thing, right? It's the biggest stories a lot of the time. And we're not. I think actually at this point, AEW stories for our audience are bigger, but like it's a big story. There is a big part of me that believes that as wrestling sites, we should just follow their lead, and they obviously don't really care about our coverage, so we should just be like, oh, fuck it. But then I'll see at the same time Sean will get an interview with Drew McIntyre, and it's like, I guess. I don't know. I don't really. I actually think there's a lot of truth to us covering professional wrestling rather than what they claim to be, which is, you know.
I mean, we for the most part, we've moved our show to the stuff we enjoy. We talked about Charlotte and Becky yesterday because I thought that was an interesting conversation to have. Because it's one of the few things in the past, however many years they've done that's sort of interesting. But like, I'd be completely fine if, again, we've kind of moved this way. We just never talked about this company outside of, the talent is doing something interesting. The company's not doing shit that's interesting, but the talent is doing something interesting.
I absolutely agree. But like, in the grand scheme of things, we are a massive outlier for even doing that.
Yeah.
Because it still is what stirs most of the drinks in wrestling media, you know?
Yeah. 100%.
And I'm not saying that's wrong because people have to cover it. Like, no one's coming to us for news, so it's different. We've got a luxury in that sense. However, there is definitely something to be said for, like, I don't think it's hard because I don't want to speak for people, but like, we definitely don't have to like waste as much breath as we do on this. And the only to be clear, we're doing the stream now because for many reasons, and some are cynical. The main reason is we've had distractions going to be lined up next week. I didn't know when we were going to be able to talk about this, and it was worth having the conversation as a one-off. But like, generally, imagine we just didn't have to do this thing where we kind of get angry every week about what whole shit they did on Raw. And instead we tried to talk about what other promotions are trying. Because, again, Impact and Ring of Honor, all these companies, they don't help themselves, but we could probably do a better job too, you know? You and we got too late on the Ring of Honor one, brother.
We did.
Got too late.
We tried. We did try.
We tried to resuscitate, and it was too late.
Yeah, it was.
Up next, Impact Wrestling watch along. Never happening. No, but it's true. Like, look, guys, I always try to review the pay-per-views and specials for that reason. I reviewed Empower, all of this stuff, because we probably should just try to shine the light a bit further rather than repeating ourselves every damn week on how mad we are about Raw.
And this is why we pretty much stopped talking about
Right.
Raw. And this is a big reason why I wanted to not do the SmackDown review show anymore. Because I can only say match was fine. Saw it last week. Doesn't mean anything. Roman stuff was good. You can only say that so many weeks in a row. Like, you just...
Yeah, I know. It's just boring.
Yeah.
You know, I think in future, I think we've half of this show we've hit the right tone of what we should do in future, which is try our best to look forward for the men and women that are being in these cuts, because we could be really kind of somber about it, but to be honest, the key is that we anticipate and look forward to whatever they do next, and whether you're a fan or not, you give them a fair shot when they turn up somewhere, and that's what I'm going to do. Try and cover the more promotions as we move forward here with our own channel and all that good stuff. It's Monday. I'm going to review that Impact special alongside Bob's review of the Survivor Series. So, yeah, and that's all for tonight, Jeremy Lambert.
I will watch Survivor Series. I will watch Impact Turning Point, and I will give my perspective on both of those shows on Monday. I got to watch WWE. Like, see, that is the thing, is like,
you're
I
in
can't
a
not
unique,
afford. Yeah. Like, I gotta, tomorrow WWE has a big media day where they're gonna parade everybody out there, and the media goes through their line and they ask their 2 questions, and you have 5 minutes with a superstar, and I'm gonna have to write a lot of articles about, oh yes, there should be stakes at Survivor Series. Like, the talent knows this sucks. They just show up, man. Show up, get their money.
Can you play the Sourboy clip so everyone can be happy before we go off the air?
Do that. Should I plug stuff? I'll plug stuff. Bulls still suck. Yes, I was gonna say, everyone sign up to Fightful Select. Listen to Steven Jensen's Weekender podcast. He does a great job of reviewing the independent stuff and all the stuff on the peripheral that maybe fans are not seeing. So support Steven Jensen. He does great work. It's great work.
He's a piece of shit.
He did. He was very mean to me in Mario Kart yesterday.
He's spiteful, man. He lashes out sometimes,
Yeah. So do that tomorrow. Actually, in like 30 minutes, I'm gonna be on Twitch playing video games with Joel Pearl. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be on Twitch playing video games. I think with Mike Straw.
Hell no.
What do you mean? Hell no?
We said, "Do you want to be on Twitch?" I was like, "No, I need to go. I need to stop."
I'm gonna be on
I know
Twitch.
you are.
Yeah.
Mike Straw.
Yeah, Mike Straw.
He's a scoopster.
He is. He's a video game scoopster. The next scoop is going to be games delayed because they don't have enough people to fill out the roster.
God, guys, can you imagine what we're going to produce when we tape this episode of The Distraction tomorrow night? Unprecedented. Yeah.
It's going to be something. Yes, Distraction next week will be live taped at 3 p.m. Eastern as usual. Go to twitch.tv/FightfulGaming. Appreciate y'all supporting us over here. And we will see y'all later. Oh, we'll see y'all later on.
Right, let's go.
Oh boy.
No.
So we got a real big problem. Somebody keeps fucking me here.